We find that sexual and gender-based violence is a global pandemic, and unfortunately, I think the paradox of it is that not enough is being said about sexual and gender-based violence and how to address it.
It's with a very heavy heart that today begins again. We are still going to be demanding for the release of the Chibok girls, for Leah Shuaibu. There are so many girls who have been taken, even after that.
This morning when I left to the office and I put the Belgian radio news on, the first item in the news was still on femicide figures, which are always unacceptably high, no matter what the absolute number is.
We still have a young woman who passed on in May. Her body is still in the morgue. We have not been able to get the release for the girl to be buried. And this is another violence. It's suspected that the husband was the one who killed her. The husband was arrested and released in 2 weeks. We need to be able to place ourselves in the position of the parents. The leadership of the country, the fathers of the nation, they need to take every child as their own children as well.
We returned 4 survivors of sex trafficking from Côte d'Ivoire. Unfortunately, there have been so many Nigerian girls in Ghana, Mali, Côte d'Ivoire.
So while we deploy the two-pronged approach of dealing with the cases when it happens, we should also remember that it's very important to also drive towards the preventive part.
We try to support women in political decision making. How can we get women into political positions where they can then contribute and shape policies?
Intuitively, when people hear Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, they think, it's an act that protects only women and girls. No, but it's an act that also protects men and also protects boys.
With the public, you need awareness. From the public authorities, you need a system that not only rejects violence, but also prosecutes the perpetrators and also brings them to book and puts them in jail if necessary.
So a lot of time, government just focuses on criminal prosecution, focuses on the offenders. Meanwhile, you have survivors who need protection orders, who need help with issues of custody, who need help with divorce matters.
Justice sector service delivery for survivors of GBV means designing programs and activities around the possible legal solutions for survivors and allowing them to pick.
During the COVID-19 lockdown, I was arrested alongside my colleagues for impersonating essential service providers. I see the work we do on the front lines as essential service.
It's important for the government to invest in shelters. It's important for the government to invest in the safety and the welfare and well-being of frontline defenders who respond to sexual and gender-based violence.
There is also the need for the SAC center. The shelter is also necessary, so the government must invest in all of that and make sure that those structures are working effectively to be able to have a VAP law.
Part of our focus will also be to continue the advocacy to government, is to ensure that these centers are fully funded by government, that government takes full ownership of these centers, and that the services continue to be provided free of charge to any citizen in any state.
We need to begin to deepen the quality of what is happening at each of those points. It's not for lack of the systems or the mechanisms or the measures. We have them, but how well are they functioning?
The good part about having an EU family here in Nigeria is that on the one hand, the EU as such is having the actual programs in which they support responses in the justice system, responses in terms of referral centers and so on.
I want to, on behalf of the women's movement, say we thank you for your contribution to Nigeria. It has helped. So if we have a story to tell, our story today, the European Union has been very strong in that story.
We have supported better policies, legislations in Nigeria, but also a network of shelters, of sexual assault reference centers, of specialized courts.
35 of the 36 states have legislation in place. There's been quite a bit of work done at a national level. But I think what we need is to ensure that the civil society is supported, as it is being by the European Union.
There's no way you can make a law and you are not putting money to it. There's no way you can make a law and you are not survival-centered. So the state government need to bring the survivor to the center stage. And in that regard, they need to increase the budget of the state to ensure that the budget addresses a lot of issues.
Yes, progress has been made, but there's still so much that needs to happen to allow survivors trust that there really is support.
We are designing a new program specific on sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria over the next few years. We should launch it next year in 2025 with 80 million euros. And we are working hand in hand with our member states in a Team Europe spirit, because this is a priority not only for the EU, but also for 27 member states.
Government also needs to make a strong case for the survivors to show that they too matter. Their lives matter, their security matter, their happiness matters, and everything that has to do with their sustainable livelihoods, they too belong and have a stake in our country.